can you please define ableism for us and also speak to how ableism shows up in workplace environments?
Of course, ableism is not a term that everyone may be familiar with, but it follows the same path as all the other isms that we have, racism and the other isms there. And so basically, ableism is a system that places value on people's bodies and minds based on societally constructed ideas of what is normal, what intelligence is, what excellence looks like, and how do we measure productivity. So at heart, ableism is the view that people without disabilities are superior to those with disabilities. And what that does, it stigmatizes already marginalized people and causes us to internalize those harmful biases about behavior and or about rather disability. And so there are many ways that this shows up. I will talk about four for you. So I want to remind everyone that 4 years ago, when COVID hit us and everyone around the world, prior to that, many people, employees with disabilities, wanted to have the opportunity to work from home, have what was then called flex time, so that they could manage their disability, manage maybe accessible transit was not the greatest, manage their stamina, any medications they may need to have for any number of reasons. But we're told definitively that you must be at work on site, non-negotiable. We cannot accommodate that form of working. But the minute COVID hit and the larger, broader workforce needed to transition to a way to continue working, how quickly did the workforce transition to working remotely? Very quickly, turned on a dime, it felt. And then initially there were concerns about employees won't be productive. Well, that's been disproven. And in fact, employees are sometimes more productive now because they have the flexibility to manage all the other things that are going on. You are an employee for 8 hours a day, but there are 24 hours in that day. And sometimes those obligations don't always fit neatly into a 9 to 5 workday. And so that was a stunning example of ableism at work, how people with disabilities, their concerns were not considered valid or important. But as soon as the broader working community needed to make that transition, their contributions were deemed too important to miss out on, and then everybody transitioned. So that was one example. Another way ableism shows up is through inaccessible workplaces, when you have a lack of physical accessibility or workstations that are not adaptable. If you are a wheelchair user, but you don't have a workstation that goes up and down to accommodate that. And another one is the lack of reasonable accommodation. So what does that mean? It means not offering flexible work hours for those with chronic pain who may not work as well in the early morning, but may be fine to go past a 5 o'clock workday. Refusing to provide specialized equipment like screen readers if you have vision loss, or an ergonomic chair if you are someone who has chronic pain and needs support for your back. Perhaps you need a specialized chair. And like I mentioned before, not permitting remote work options. And then the last one I want to point out is actually the biggest example of ableism, is when you, as a person with a disability, are constantly faced with negative attitudes and stereotypes, and the assumption that you're somehow less capable, you're less productive, You are a burden to a team. You're going to slow down the team because you require accommodation. And that can lead to discrimination in promotion, in project assignment, and professional development opportunities, which in essence will serve to limit your career growth and your job satisfaction. So those are some examples of ableism